I'm glad you brought up the concept of buying cycles because it actually flips kind of the whole concept. People look at it from what's the sales cycle here? And I'd mentioned it a little earlier about sales cycle, but in fact, it allows you to focus more of your attention on the client as opposed to your process. Correct?
Right.
And
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a sales cycle and a buying cycle that go on simultaneously, right? And they intersect at certain ways, certain points along the road. But the customer has their process to buy something, and that's really the gating, the determining step in terms of how fast things are going to go.
yeah,
And it's not your sales cycle. And so, yeah, you have to be really mindful of this whole concept of what's information requirements they have at each step of the buying process, and how are we going to get that information to them in a way that helps them, gather this information with the least investment of their time possible, so they can make a decision. That's all they want to do. They want to make a decision. They've got this item on the checklist of buying something, buying a product from Chris. Well, what do people want to do when they have things on a checklist? They want to get it off, right? The customers are so busy.
Yeah.
They've got so many things on their plates. Companies are trying to do more with less, like every place else in the world these days. And I write about this and talk about it. That you have to think about in the concept of, in the context of what this Nobel Prize-winning economist wrote, a guy named Herbert Simon back in 1971, who accurately forecasted, along with Marshall McLuhan and others, exactly what the impact was going to be of the information economy. Now, this was back at a time when there was, obviously no internet. There was 4 broadcast channels, at least in the United States, and there was maybe 1 or 2 in Canada at that time. And
the telex machine.
A telex machine. Yeah, don't laugh. I mean, in the 80s, I was selling satellite communications networks to replace telex machines for the Associated Press and other people. But what he said is that people are going to be so overwhelmed, to come a point where people are going to be so overwhelmed by so many multiple sources of information that this surplus of information is going to create a shortage of the resource it consumes, which is people's attention. Now, today we call that our bandwidth, right?
Yep.
We're going to run out of bandwidth. So he said what people are going to do then is they'll necessarily make decisions about how to allocate slices of their attention or their bandwidth using economic means, meaning where do I get the best return for the time that I'm investing in this information source, or which information source is giving me the best return on the time that I've invested in it. Well, your buyers are doing that with salespeople. So if there's a competitive sales situation and one salesperson or sales company is taking an inordinately long time to respond to their customer inquiry or to get back to them with answers to questions, the customer is saying, well, geez, I'm not getting a good return on the time I'm investing with this company right now in the pre-sales environment. What's going to be like working with them in the long term as a supplier? As opposed to working with Chris's company where, gosh, I sent a lead, they responded within 30 minutes. The person that talked to me understood my needs. They gave me answers to my questions. We had a demo within the next day. Boom, 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 boom. Wow, that's a company I will work with. I got a good return on the time I invested with them. I want to work with them long term.